A pleasant good evening and welcome to the Wolverina. I am Adam Gusky, and tonight your 6-2 Woodland Hills Wolverines take on the 3-5 Penn Hills Indians in a WPIAL Quad A Southeastern Conference matchup. It's senior recognition at the Wolverina. Woodland Hills at 5-2 in the Southeastern Conference with the victory can clinch a home playoff game in the first round of the WPIAL playoffs next Friday night. Meanwhile, right now Penn Hills is on the outside looking in for the WPIAL playoffs, but a victory tonight with a little bit of help would certainly help their cause in their quest to make the WPIAL playoffs. And we can't overemphasize what an accomplishment it is for Woodland Hills to have qualified for the playoffs for the 24th time in 26 seasons. Woodland Hills will be kicking off to begin this football game left to right across your television screen, radio dial, or internet browser. Meanwhile, Penn Hills will be receiving and they'll be returning right to left across your TVs, internet, or radio. And Woodland Hills wears their home all black uniforms, black jerseys, black pants, turquoise numerals with the turquoise helmets and the black ears and stripes. The near sideline are the Penn Hills Indians. They wear their white road uniforms, white jerseys, white pants, red numerals with the gold trim, gold helmets with arrows emblazoned upon both sides, much like the Florida State Seminoles. Kicking off for Woodland Hills will be Jordan Potter. Back deep to return for Penn Hills is number 3, Billy Kisner. And we are underway in Turtle Creek, PA. This ball will carry down to the 7-yard line where it's returned by Jason Ingram, the other deep back. Ingram is forced out of bounds along the near sideline by the Wolverines' Miles Sanders. And it'll be first down and 10 for Penn Hills inside of their own 30, right around the 27-yard line. Adam Gusky, all across the Woodland Hills Football Network, flying solo for tonight's broadcast. And we thank you for joining us no matter where you are for tonight's game. Again, Penn Hills has the ball first down and 10 at their own 28-yard line. 11:54 to play in a scoreless first quarter. Shotgun formation for the Indians. The QB is Darius Holloway. Trips to the right, 2 receivers to his left. He'll send a man in motion from left to right in Robin Hall, but a flag flies before the snap. And we will check in with our referee on what the call was coming from the near side.
Offside, defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down. 21 will sit out 1 play.
And the reason 21 will sit out for 1 play is he lost his helmet as the ball was snapped. Then offsides penalty makes it first down and 5 for the Penn Hills Indians, and the ball will be placed at the 33-yard line as soon as the official marks it off from the 28 to the 35, or 33 rather. Again, a shotgun for the Indians. Holloway, the QB, 2 receivers to his left, 3 receivers to his right. Surveys the field, does Holloway. Sends a man in motion. It's the second receiver from the right-hand side, and the flag comes in again.
False start, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
And that false start counteracts the offsides against the Woodland Hills defense, and we have yet to run an offensive play here at the Wolverina. It's first down and 10 again for Penn Hills, ball at the 28-yard line. Again, it's a shotgun. A banana bunch to the left of the QB, Darius Holloway. 1 sidecar to his left, now he motions a man from right to left. Holloway will keep the ball himself after pulling it out of the gut of Eric Godfrey. And Holloway is brought down about a yard deep in the backfield. Loss of 1 brings up second down and 11. So second and 11 as the Woodland Hills front 7 holds strong on the first play from scrimmage. A lot of misdirection on that play, but the Woodland Hills defense was very strong picking it up. And a lot of penetration by the Woodland Hills defense shut that play down. Motion man from left to right again. Holloway rolls to his right, feels pressure from behind from Bruce Curry. Holloway throws, and the pass is intended for Michael Anthony. The pass goes too far to Anthony's left, incomplete, and that brings up third down and 11 for the Indians at the 27-yard line. A lot of pressure coming from behind by Bruce Curry. He came free from his outside linebacker position, but Holloway, the speedy quarterback for Penn Hills, was able to keep rolling to his right, elude that pressure and get the ball out, but it was off the mark for Michael Anthony. Pistol formation this time, as Holloway has a back behind him. Two receivers to the right. Some movement before the snap. The officials don't blow the whistle, though. The handoff will go to Denzel Sherrill. He'll dance his way forward for a gain of about 1. That brings up 4th down and 10. The tackle on the play made by Jawan Turner, one of the seniors for Woodland Hills, playing in his last regular season home game at the Wolverina. So the Indians, at least initially, look like they're going to punt. Holloway is the punter, and if you listen to the pregame show, you'll know that Holloway has the option to run pretty much all the time. He will boot it away, though, this time. Woodland Hills does not have a deep man back, and a very nice punt by Holloway takes a huge Indian bounce and will roll all the way down to the Woodland Hills 18-yard line. So certainly a change in field position there, as the multi-purpose quarterback, Darius Holloway, the 6-foot senior, comes up big with the boot, and it's 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills as the offense takes the field. .26 to play here in a scoreless first quarter. Woodland Hills with their first play from scrimmage in just a moment. Two receivers to the right of Cody McClellan, one to the far boundary left. Sidecars to either side. The handoff will go to the sidecar to the left of McClellan, the ball carrier Miles Sanders, last week's State Senator Jay Costa player of the game. No gain on the play brings up 2nd down and 10 on Sanders' first carry of the affair. As usual, the story for the Penn Hills Indians is a very, very strong defensive front. They have always had great defensive linemen over the years at Penn Hills. A motion man from left to right is Khalil Harper. The ball carrier Miles Sanders into open field across the 30-yard line. He will be brought down close to the 31. A big pickup there of 13 yards and a Woodland Hills first down. So Miles Sanders, after being stopped on 1st and 10, picks up 11 on 2nd and 10. You can see Sanders has a huge hole over left guard, pulling linemen in front of him, clear the way, and Sanders leaps around the tackler and is finally brought down. And there's some movement along the defensive front from Penn Hills. A hard count by Cody McClellan draws Tariq Hester into the neutral zone, and some contact as well. So unless the officials say that James Rooney moved early, this will be against the Indians.
Dead ball, offside, defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So the 5-yard penalty makes it 1st down and 5 for the Wolverines. Ball at the 36-yard line. Clock winding down close to 9 minutes to go here in a scoreless first quarter. McClellan looks left, throws left, finds Tom Green. Green forced out of bounds along that far boundary. Picks up 8 yards, though, on the play. It'll be 1st down and 10 for the Wolverines at the 43-yard line. So make it a gain of 7, not 8, on McClellan's first pass of the game. Cody McClellan, one of the seniors that will be playing his last home game here at the Wolverina in the regular season this evening, as is Tom Green. So 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills, ball at the 43. Hard count again by McClellan, and this time he will draw the defensive end into the neutral zone. Marshall Thompson with the early movement. The officials confirmed that it was against the defense.
Defense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So 5-yard penalty makes it 1st down and 5 for Woodland Hills. Ball at the 48-yard line of the Wolverines. 9:12 to go as the clock is stopped here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. McClellan hands off. It's Alex Beasley rumbling and spinning his way forward. Picks up 6 and a Woodland Hills first down. So the Wolverines distributing the ball both through the air and on the ground thus far. So a gain of 6, and it's 1st down and 10 for Woodland Hills at the 46-yard line. As Woodland Hills is out of the shotgun, out of the huddle into the shotgun twins right. One receiver to the far boundary left. McClellan will hand off. Sanders bouncing it to the near side. Inside the 45, inside the 40, 35, 30. Tries to sidestep a man at the 25, but that tackler brings him down, but not before the 23-yard line. Tackle on the play made by Penn Hills' Sean Featherstone, but a big pickup there for the freshman for Woodland Hills, a 23-yard gain. So 3 carries today for Miles Sanders, and he already has 36 yards on the ground. Shotgun again for McClellan. Sidecars to either side. Handoff Beasley. Tries to bounce it off left tackle. The Indians try to tackle the ball. Actually, the ball is stripped away from Alex Beasley, but one of the Wolverines came back and jumped on the football. It'll be a loss of 2 on the fumble recovery by Khalil Harper. But Woodland Hills maintains possession. A good job by the Penn Hills defensive front there to grab a hold of that ball and rip it away from Alex Beasley. But a heady play by the senior receiver Khalil Harper. So Cody McClellan in the shotgun, one sidecar this time. He'll keep it himself, bounces it to the far side. Inside the 20, inside of the 15, a flag is down. But Cody McClellan picks up about 12 yards on 2nd and 13. This may be a hold against the Wolverines. And the official is conferring with one of the Indian defenders, one of their defensive captains. And usually when it comes from the referee, it is a hold.
Holding. Offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. 2nd out.
So 10 yards from the spot of the foul. The spot of the foul was the 24-yard line. So McClellan had already picked up 2 yards on that run. McClellan in the shotgun. 2nd and long for the Wolverines. He'll look left, throw left for Tom Green, and the pass a bit too long for Green down that far sideline. The Indians had man-on-man coverage with Green and the safety helping over top. Damon Reed on the coverage. Sean Featherstone came out over the top as well on the help defense. 3rd down and 21 for Woodland Hills. Ball at the 34-yard line. 7:22 as the clock is stopped here in Turtle Creek. Twins to the right, one receiver left. McClellan with sidecars to either side, and a flag will come in from the side judge along that far sideline, and it may be Penn Hills impeding that neutral zone, or impeaching that neutral zone, if you will. And it is offsides against the Penn Hills Indians, and it will remain 3rd down. So instead of 3rd and 21 at the 34, it'll be 3rd and 16 from the 29. 7:22 again to play here in a scoreless first quarter. Woodland Hills threatening inside of the Penn Hills 30. McClellan rolls to his right, feels pressure. It's a throwback screen. Miles Sanders running away from pressure inside the 30, inside of the 25. Eludes more tacklers inside the 20, 15, 5. And he crosses the goal line. The officials say Miles Sanders steps out of bounds at the 2-yard line, but what a great screen pass for Miles Sanders. He felt pressure coming from his left-hand side. He came back to the right, picked up some blocks, and a big first down for the Wolverines. And for the 2nd week in a row, a big screen pass from McClellan to Miles Sanders. And folks on the TV side, look at how Sanders sees the defenders.
Offense.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. I didn't even see the penalty.
Spot of the foul. Still 3rd down.
So I didn't even see the penalty. The flag was either came in late or the official had dropped his hat because he couldn't access his flag. Either way, the spot of the foul was the 26-yard line. So the screen pass ends up picking up 3 yards instead of upwards of 28. Very unfortunate. McClellan back to pass, feels pressure from behind, throws it to the far side, looking for Tom Green, but the pass goes awry, and Woodland Hills faces a 4th and long. Ball at the 36-yard line, and the punt unit will come out for the black and turquoise. And a couple of big plays by Cody McClellan have been negated by penalties thus far this evening. On the punt for the Wolverines, Dante Broadus. Back to return for the Indians is Robin Hall. Broadus runs to his right, punts the ball away. A knuckling punt will be caught by Hall at the 10-yard line. He'll be met by Bruce Curry right at that 10-yard line. Maybe a gain of 1 on the return for Robin Hall, and it'll be first down and 10 for the Indians at the 11. So the Wolverines, with a couple of opportunities, taking the ball inside of the Penn Hills red zone. However, on both occasions, big plays were called back by penalties. 6:34 to play here in the first quarter. We remain scoreless in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Penn Hills with the ball starting at their own 11-yard line. And a pass intended for the receiver who was wide open running down the right hash, Jordan Davenport. But the pass intended for Davenport was a bit too strong by Darius Holloway, and that incomplete pass brings up second down and 10 for the Indians. And the Wolverines dodge a bullet there. So I'm not sure what happened, but certainly a breakdown in coverage allowed Davenport to be wide open. Second and 10 for the Wolverines, or rather for the Indians at the 11-yard line. Back to pass is the QB Holloway. Looks left, throws left, and the pass again is intended for Jordan Davenport. And again, it is well too strong. Nice man-to-man coverage by both Khalil Harper and Chris David. David had a beat on the football for a moment, but was not able to get on top of it. So for third down and 10. First-year head coach John Peterman for Penn Hills has gone to the air on both plays thus far on this drive. Indians 0 of 3 in the air thus far this evening. 6:25 to play in a scoreless first quarter in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Holloway sidecar to his right, 2 receivers right as well. And a timeout is called by the Woodland Hills defense. Coach Novak wants to talk things over. Also out there, linebackers Coach Keelan Razier. With the score, Woodland Hills 0, Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Third down and 10 for Penn Hills. Ball at their own 11-yard line. Scoreless here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania, halfway through the first quarter. Holloway, pistol formation, 2 receivers left, 2 receivers to his right. Holloway straight drop back, it's a screen pass. The Wolverines read it. Dante Broadus read that screen pass beautifully, and he makes the tackle on the receiver, Denzel Sherrill, a 5-yard loss, and it is fourth down and 15 for Penn Hills, and the Indians will be punting from their own end zone. So the first completed pass on the day for Penn Hills is a 5-yard loss. What a heady play by the junior linebacker, Dante Broadus, to make that tackle. Broadus, the State Senator Jay Costa player of the game in the game against the Plum Mustangs. A flag flies, and it appears the Indians move before the
dead
snap.
ball, false start, offense. Half the distance to the goal, still fourth down.
So half the distance from the 6 will put the ball at the 3-yard line, or it'll be first down or fourth down and even longer for the Indians. Fourth down and 18 for Penn Hills. Holloway, the punter, stands near his own end line. Boots it away. Another sky-high beauty. Khalil Harper tells the Wolverines to get away from the ball, and the Indians inexplicably down the ball at the 50-yard line. Michael Anthony caught the ball off of one bounce. That ball had the potential of rolling even further into Woodland Hills territory, but instead Woodland Hills will have the ball at the midfield stripe. So far it's been the Woodland Hills offense able to move the ball a little bit, but some penalties certainly stymied the first offensive opportunity for the black and turquoise. 5:27 to play in the first quarter as Woodland Hills has the ball at the 50. Shotgun sidecar to either side. Motion man from left to right. Fakes the handoff to Harper. It's Miles Sanders, the ball carrier. Sanders with a gain of 10 and a Woodley High first down. Miles Sanders has himself 4 carries on the day for 46 yards. He also has 1 reception that ended up only garnering him 3 yards. It would have been about 28 yards, but a penalty brought that one back in the first drive of the game. Clock is rolling down towards 5 minutes to go here in this scoreless first quarter. Penn Hills out of the huddle, as are the Wolverines. Hard count. McClellan hands off. Daquan White, the ball carrier. White, the change of pace back, picks up 2. White, limited carries last week. He had, by my count, 4 carries for 14 yards, but did have a TD. Pickup of 2 on that one for Daquan White. And the senior gives Woodland Hills a 2nd down and 8, ball at the 38. Shotgun formation again for the Wolverines. McClellan looks left, throws left, complete. Tom Green has it. First down yardage and more as Tom Green is brought down. They'll say at the 22-yard line. A pickup of 16 yards on the pass from McClellan to Green. And Cody McClellan now with 26 yards in the air. So 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills at the 22. 4 minutes to play as the clock is rolling. And again, the Indians breach the neutral zone. And again, it's Tariq Hester, the nose guard. I don't know how, if you're the player over the top of the football, you don't hold your ground. So the 5-yard penalty makes it 1st down and 5 for Woodland Hills at the 17-yard line. Shotgun formation as always for Woodland Hills. 2 receivers right, 1 to the far boundary left. McClellan rolls to his right, throws to his right, finds Miles Sanders out of the backfield. No, that's Khalil Harper on the reception for Woodland Hills, brought down at the 9-yard line. A pickup on that play of 8 yards and a Woody High 1st down, 1st and goal for Woodland Hills. And Cody McClellan now with 34 yards in the air. First reception of the game for Khalil Harper. 3:22 as the clock is rolling here in the first quarter. Woodland Hills threatening. Hard count again by Cody. He'll hand off to Daquan White, has a huge hole and into the end zone. For a 9-yard touchdown goes Daquan White. And the Wolverines strike first. It's 6-0 with 3:10 to play in the first frame. And how appropriate that the senior reserve running back scores on senior night. Second touchdown in as many weeks for Daquan White. And on to attempt the point after touchdown is Donald Cassidy. Cassidy, the sure-footed short kicker for Woodland Hills. He'll boot it out of the hold of Tom Green, and the kick is up, splits the uprights. And with 3:10 to play in the first frame, it's Woodland Hills 7, Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. A 9-yard touchdown run by Daquan White puts Woodland Hills up 7-0, and the Indians brought the house, and the Wolverines opened the floodgates and allowed Daquan White to take it into the end zone unscathed. The big block between left guard and left tackle leading the way was the senior Jawan Turner. Jordan Potter, Wolverine senior kicker, boots into this one. It will carry inside of the Indians 5 to the 2-yard line, where it'll be returned by Jason Ingram. Ingram found some room initially, but then was met right around the 19-yard line by Deshaun Osbrooks. So Osbrooks on the tackle, as well as Jordan Lee. And it'll be 1st down and 10 for Penn Hills, ball at the 20-yard line. .303 to go in the first quarter. Woodland Hills up 7-0. Nice open field tackle by Deshaun Osbrooks. Jordan Lee also in, as well as Dante Broadus. Sidecar to the right of Holloway, who is in the shotgun. 2 receivers to his left, 1 to the far side right. Holloway pressured by Curry. He'll step up into the pocket. Throws it down the near sideline, and the Indian along this near sideline will be credited with the catch at the 49-yard line. Credit the reception to Billy Kistner. A pickup of 31 yards on that pass play. Kistner got behind the Woodland Hills defensive backs and was able to slide down and make the reception before coming out of bounds along the near boundary. So just the second completed pass on the day, covered 31 yards. Holloway in the shotgun. Pulls the ball out of the belly of his sidecar. Denzel Sherrill will keep it himself. And Holloway, keeping it, is tripped up and picks up about a yard. Second down and 9 for the Indians. Holloway's second carry of the game. 2 carries, 0 yards, as his first carry was a negative rush. Penn Hills and the shotgun this time. Twins to either side. The running back motions to the left of Holloway. Again, the Indians look to set up a screen, and the Wolverines sniffed it out. Jawan Turner nearly picked it off. He tipped the ball, but Jason Ingram was able to pull it in. A modest gain of 2 yards brings up 3rd down and 7 for the Indians. A nice job by Woodland Hills. They showed discipline. They were rushing the quarterback hard. They felt the scream coming, and it was Turner who retreated far enough to try to get his hands on the football. He did tip it, but Ingram was able to pull it in for the 2-yard gain. Indians facing 3rd and 8. Make it 3rd and 7, rather, at the 47. Rolling to his right is Holloway. The pass is intended again for Ingram. Incomplete. On the coverage for Woodland Hills is Tom Green. And that incomplete pass brings up 4th down and about 8. Short 8, long 7 for Penn Hills. So the Indians in punt formation, but they have the dangerous Darius Holloway as their punter. They run an offensive set. Holloway will run to his right, boot it away again. And this is a beauty, end-over-end kick. It takes an Indian bounce, and Penn Hills will down it right around the 5-yard line. That is the 3rd time tonight where we see Darius Holloway with a beautiful, beautiful punt. On his second punt of the game, the Indians, ill-advised, down the ball at the 50-yard line, setting Woodland Hills up 50 yards away from pay dirt, and they cashed in. This time, Woodland Hills is 93 yards from pay dirt. A beautiful fall evening here in western Pennsylvania, and unseasonably warm 65 degrees at kickoff. Reasonably high humidity as well. The sun setting about a half an hour before kickoff here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Again, 1st and 10 for the black and turquoise, ball at the 7 after the Indians punted it away. 1:01 to play in the first quarter. Woodland Hills up 7-0. And the Wolverines are going to take a timeout as their formation.
Timeout. Woodland Hills.
Their formation was well off of what they wanted it to be. The official well too close to the speakers causes feedback as well. Again, the score, Woodland Hills 7, Penn Hills 0. You tune into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. .101 to play in the first quarter. Woodland Hills up 7-0. Miles Sanders takes the handoff, and he is brought down after picking up 13 yards and a Woodland Hills first down. Miles Sanders again with a huge hold, this time over right tackle. And a huge yellow leaf out there around the 15-yard line. I thought it was a penalty flag, but it is a leaf, and it is a Woodland Hills first down. Miles Sanders today, 5 carries for 59 yards. Pretty good per carry attempt. Woodland Hills goes under center for the first time since game 1. And you can tell because the first under center snap in a long, long time is a fumbled snap between James Rooney and Cody McClellan, a loss of 2, and it is 2nd down and 12. So Cody goes to the sideline to check with Coach Novak, and you can just tell James Rooney and Cody McClellan not comfortable with the under center snap. And part of that was to kill the first quarter, I do believe.
The end of the first quarter.
So as we hear, it was the end of the first quarter. And the score is Woodland Hills 7 and Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Seven to 0, Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills as we are set to begin the second quarter here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Adam Gusky on the call for you all across the Woodland Hills Football Network, including our radio station AM 1550 WLFP, on the web at woodlandhillsfootballnetwork.com. Our television affiliates, including Monroeville Comcast Cable Channels 4 and 13, Penn Hills Comcast Cable Channel 98, and Verizon Fios Channel 37. Woodland Hills got themselves out of a hole on the second to last play of the first quarter, as it was first and 10 at the 7-yard line, but a 13-yard carry by Sanders put Woodland Hills at the 20, but a 2-yard loss on a fumble recovery by McClellan on a fumbled snap, and Woodland Hills burns their final time out of the first half, as again a formational error by the black and turquoise forces George Novak to use another timeout. So it's still second down and 12. We have yet to begin the second quarter, but we are going to take a break. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Second and 12 for Woodland Hills, and again the Indians jump into the neutral zone on another hard count by Cody McClellan. So the encroachment penalty, instead of making it second and 12, it's second and 7 for Woodland Hills. Ball at the 23-yard line. Along the near sideline, Ryan Osorio, former Woodland Hills Wolverine, one of the defensive coaches for Penn Hills, calls out signals. 3 receivers to the left of McClellan, but instead the ball carrier will be Alex Beasley, and Beasley picks up about 3 yards to the 26-yard line. And Alex Beasley now with 6 yards on the ground on 3 carries. Alex has a fumble, but the Wolverines did recover it. So 3rd and 4 for the black and turquoise, ball at the 26-yard line. The line to gain is the 30. Trips to the left of McClellan. He'll look right the whole way. Throws right, complete. Tom Green has the catch, and he will be brought down by a quartet of Penn Hills Indians, but it's enough for a Woodland Hills first down as Tom Green finds his way to the 37-yard line, but there is a flag on the play.
Offense, 10-yard penalty, still 3rd down.
So the penalty is a hold against Woodland Hills. And to my recollection, there may have been a handful at most holding penalties all season long against this Woodland Hills offensive line. All of a sudden tonight, this referee has seen holding against the black and turquoise on 3 different occasions, all of which negating big plays by Woodland Hills. This time, it's 3rd down and 21 now after the penalty, ball at the 9. The line to gain is the 30. McClellan will roll to his left. He will throw to his left. He has a receiver, and that receiver makes the catch, and it's Chuck Tarrant for the first time this season. Who is Chuck Tarrant? Chuck Tarrant is the 5'10" senior receiver playing for the first time, to my recollection, on senior night, and he picks up a Woodland Hills first down. Woodland Hills had to get to the 30. They make it all the way to the 49-yard line, a 40-yard pass from McClellan to Tarrant. And Cody McClellan now with 74 yards in the air. McClellan in the shotgun side. Carter was right, trips to his right. Hard count, pulls an Indian into the neutral zone. No flag flies, though. McClellan throws. He looks for Khalil Harper, but the pass is too high, incomplete. Harper was open around the 40-yard line. It would have been first down yardage and more, but the incomplete pass brings up 2nd down and 10 for the Wolverines. 10:34 to play here in the second quarter. Adam Gusky on the call for you on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Russ Reamer back at WLFP Studios, making sure we're on the air, on the radio, and on the web at woodlandhillsfootballnetwork.com with the stream courtesy of MSAsports.net. And our television crew hard at work upstairs Making sure we're on all across our television affiliates on the Woodland Hills Football Network. McClellan in the shotgun. Fakes the handoff, keeps it himself. Carries the ball inside of Indian territory to the 48-yard line, a pickup of 3 for Cody McClellan. And McClellan now 3 carries for 3 yards today. And it's 3rd down and 7 for Woodland Hills at the 48-yard line. .10:09 to go as the clock is rolling here in the second quarter. 3rd and 7 for the Wolverines. Shotgun formation, twins to either side. McClellan sidecar to his right in Beasley. Cody rolls to his right, feels some pressure, steps up, and he will be hit as he throws the football. Late pressure, but the contact by Sean Roy forces the incomplete pass, and the punt unit will come on for Woodland Hills. Back deep to return for Penn Hills will be Robin Hall. On to punt for Woodland Hills is Dante Broadus. Again, 4th and 7 for the Wolverines. Snap high, Broadus gathers it in, runs to his right, boots it away. It will take a Woody High bounce at the 15-yard line, carry all the way down to the goal line. Woodland Hills player running down that far sideline apparently stepped on the goal line. Chris David appeared to have pushed the football back into the field of play before stepping into the end zone, at least from our vantage point. But the official says that it is a touchback instead. And that is an unfortunate set of circumstance rather for Woodland Hills. As it appeared that Chris David had set Penn Hills up inside of their own 5, but instead a touchback on the punt by Broadus. 9:41 to play in the second quarter. Woodland Hills, or rather Penn Hills with the ball 1st and 10 at their own 20. Indians in the shotgun, sidecar to the right of the quarterback Holloway. He'll run to his left instead, and he will be brought down after a modest gain. He was being chased by Alex Beasley. Also in on the tackle for the Wolverines, Trevon Mathis. Mathis, 6-foot junior, defensive back for the Wolverines. Woodland Hills up 7-0 as the clock rolls down near 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Woodland Hills looks for a home playoff game in the WPIAL playoffs next Friday night. Penn Hills looks to work their way into the playoffs with a victory and some help.
For the snap, timeout, Penn Hills.
So the Indians use a timeout, their first of the game, and with 9:01 to play in the second quarter, the score remains Woodland Hills 7, Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network.
Creek Fire Department. Thank you.
9:01 to play in the second quarter. Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills 7-0. It's 2nd and 7 for the Indians. Ball at the 23-yard line. Darius Holloway, the ball carrier on the previous play for Penn Hills. Holloway 3 carries, 3 yards in total today. Holloway, the Indians QB, in the shotgun. Twins to either side. He'll look to his right and step up into the pocket. Holloway has some room as he brings it across the 30 to the 31-yard line. Trayvon Mathis on the tackle for the Wolverines, but it is an 8-yard gain and a Penn Hills first down.
8-yard run for Holloway. Will move to 6.
So Holloway now with 11 yards on the ground. Holloway, probably the best athlete on the field for Penn Hills, their QB. Has the ability to run the football, that is for sure. 1st and 10 for Penn Hills, ball at their own 31. Trips to the right side, car to the right of Holloway, one receiver to his left. Hard count by Holloway, looks to his left, he will throw it, it is complete to Billy Kistner, and Kistner will be forced out of bounds along the near sideline by Deshad Osbrooks, but not before a pickup of about 4 yards. It's 2nd and 6 for the Indians on that pass completion to Billy Kistner.
4-yard gain on the play.
Kistner, his 2nd reception of the game. His first one covered 31 yards. This one a 3-yarder. Make it a 4-yarder. He has 35 yards on those 2 catches. Holloway in the shotgun. Looks to his left, throws it again to Kistner. And Kistner is brought down in the backfield. A great open field tackle by Chris David. David bringing Kistner down 1 yard deep in the backfield. And David was being blocked, but was able to shed that blocker and make the open field tackle on Kistner. Basically, the Indians ran the same play on consecutive plays going to the opposite side on 2nd down and 6. And there you see David making the tackle as he slips through the block of Jason Ingram. Indians with a 3rd down and 7 ball at their own 34. 2 receivers to either side. Holloway straight drop back. Feels pressure, throws it across the middle. The pass is complete. And being brought down after a gain of about 5 is the receiver Denzel Sherrill. But Holloway, dropping back, was hit after throwing the football. And I think the Woodland Hills defensive end who made contact to Holloway is going to be guilty of roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer. Contact to the head. 15-yard penalty. 1st down. End of the spot. No.
So it'll be 15 yards from the end of the play. So do credit the Indians with the 6-yard pickup on the pass to Denzel Sherrill. His 2nd catch of the game. And the Indians have the ball inside of Woodland Hills territory for the first time today. After the roughing the passer penalty, it's 1st and 10 for Penn Hills. Ball at the Woodland Hills 45. 2 receivers to either side. Holloway in the pistol. Looks right, throws right, and I don't think that Holloway and the receiver, Michael Anthony, were on the same page. Anthony was running a 10-yard post route, and it appeared that Holloway anticipated a 10-yard flag route. So the pass awry brings up 2nd down and 10 for the Indians. Holloway in the air today. 6 completions for 37 yards. 6 of 11 unofficially. Holloway sends a man in motion from left to right, putting 3 receivers on his right. Holloway rolls to the right, feels pressure, steps up, but he will be wrapped and sacked by Kevin Solomon, the fire plug. 5'8", 240-pound sophomore defensive lineman. And a big loss on the play back to the Penn Hills 47-yard line, a loss of 8 yards on that sack by Solomon. So it's 3rd down and 18 for Penn Hills. Ball at their own 47. The line to gain for the Indians is the Woodland Hills 35-yard line. 2 receivers to either side. Holloway in the shotgun. Moves his sidecar to his left. Now he'll step up into the pistol. Indians look to set up the screen. Holloway decided to go away from the screen, run to the near sideline, and what closing speed by Kevin Solomon. Solomon bringing Holloway down at the line of scrimmage. It appeared that Holloway was going to be able to pick up some positive yardage there, but somehow the stout defensive lineman closed quickly on Holloway and brought him down for no gain on the play. It's 4th down and 18 for the Indians. Holloway, the punter for the Indians, takes 1 step to his right, boots it away, and this one will literally go into the stands along this near boundary. And the official along this near boundary continues to walk. And they will say that it will be 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills at the 40-yard line. A net punt of 13 yards for the Indians, and just when I praised Darius Holloway's punting ability, he boots that one off the side of his foot, just giving the Indians 13 yards of slack. So Woodland Hills with the ball at their own 40 with 5:38 to play. Handoff goes to Miles Sanders. Jumps through a hole, picks up about 9 yards, and a Woodland Hills 1st down. Tackle on the play by the Indians' Eric Godfrey. But Miles Sanders saw a hole and just bursted through it for a pickup of 9. 68 yards thus far today for Miles Sanders, the Woody High freshman running back. 2 receivers to the left of McClellan, 1 to the far boundary right. Sidecars to either side of Cody. He will hand off. Daquan White, the ball carrier. First down yardage and more for the senior running back. And Daquan White finally brought down after pushing his way forward to the 44-yard line. A gain of 7 on the play, and it's 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills. Daquan White with a lone touchdown today for the Wolverines. An 8-yarder in the first quarter. White now 3 carries, 18 yards on the ground. McClellan twins to his left, 1 receiver to the right. McClellan looks to pass, throws to his right, finds Tom Green. Green spins away from 1 Indian and is brought down by the second. Credit the tackle to Sean Roy, but not before Tom Green picks up 6 yards, and it's 2nd and 4 for the Wolverines. The line to gain the 34-yard line. It's 2nd down for Woodland Hills at the 33. 3rd catch of the game for Tom Green. He has 29 yards on those 3 catches. Cody McClellan now 80 yards in the air. McClellan, straight drop back. Looks right. Happy feet, throws left. Finds Tom Green, but it's a gain of no yards, actually. It looked like Green had picked up about a yard, but did retreat after catching the ball. No gain on the play. 4th catch, though, on the game for Green. And he does still have 29 yards. 3:44 as the clock continues to roll here in the 2nd quarter in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills 7-0. 2 receivers to the right of McClellan. He will hand off. Miles Sanders has a hole and has a Woodland Hills 1st down. He had an Indian come from behind and grab a hold of his jersey, but the strength of the freshman to be able to pull that Indian defensive end or linebacker forward to pick up that 1st down, very impressive. And a gain of 5 yards for Miles Sanders gives Woodland Hills 1st and 10 at the 38-yard line. Taking a look at the television replay, you can see Sanders basically horse-collared by Julian Hurt, but still able to pull his way forward for that 5-yard pickup. McClellan in the shotgun, hard count. The Indians stay disciplined this time. Sanders bouncing it outside now, cuts it back in. Picks up positive yardage to about the 30-yard line, a gain of 3. And that is the real difference we have seen from Miles Sanders since he's been reinserted in the starting lineup after the injury to Harry Randall. He has learned such patience, and he's also learned to take what the defense gives him. And that's why he has been a 2-time State Senator Jay Costa Player of the Game, and he's well on his way to his 3rd with that 3-yard pickup. He now has 76 yards on the ground. McClellan looks right, throws right. Man-on-man coverage looking for Tom Green, but late help as well coming over the top by Sean Featherstone, but the pass was a bit too strong as McClellan looked for Green, and that brings up 3rd down and 7. Ball at the 30-yard line. .222 as the clock has stopped here in the 2nd quarter. Woodland Hills faces this 3rd and 7. This is the lone conference rivalry left for Woodland Hills. A holdover from the old Big East Conference, as both Penn Hills and Woodland Hills as well as Plum were moved from the Big East to the Southeastern. McClellan on a screen pass, and he looked to dump it off to Miles Sanders, but Sanders hadn't turned back yet. And McClellan's incomplete pass brings up a 4th down and 7 for the Wolverines at the 30-yard line. And this is that gray area where it's too far for a field goal and too close for a punt. So Woodland Hills appears to go for it here on 3rd down and 7. As we take a look at the television replay, the pulling guard coming from left to right was Wilford Clark, the freshman, 6'1", 265. Did not pick up the defensive end along that far side as McClellan was waggling to his right, and that forced the incompletion. And I think Penn Hills asked for a timeout prior to the snap.
Prior to the snap, timeout, Penn Hills.
So Penn Hills uses their 2nd timeout, and with 2:16 to play, Woodland Hills still leads Penn Hills 7-0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. 4th down and 7 for Woodland Hills, ball at the 30-yard line. Shotgun formation for the black and turquoise. Back to pass is McClellan, looks right, looks back left, then throws right again, and this ball will carry into the end zone, incomplete. As McClellan was looking for Green, he looked back left in the direction of Khalil Harper. Also to his left was Ryan Welsh. But the incomplete pass from Cody McClellan, his 3rd in a row, makes it 1st down and 10 for the Indians on the turnover on downs. Indians with the ball at their own 30-yard line. So Penn Hills, if they move quickly, have an opportunity to tie this one up headed into the locker room. Motion man from left to right is Kistner for Penn Hills. Holloway looks, throws, intercepted. Chris David has the football inside of the 40, sidesteps a man 35, 30, and brought down at the 28-yard line. Chris David read that play, broke on the football, and it's 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills. Ball at the 27-yard line. A nice return on the interception as well for Chris David. And that is the 2nd consecutive set of downs for Penn Hills where we see Chris David come up and make a big play defensively. The last drive for the Indians, it was Chris David with a big open field tackle. This time, he breaks on the football, picks off a pass intended for Billy Kistner, and returns it all the way to the 27-yard line where it's 1st and 10 for the Wolverines. McClellan in the shotgun. Looks left, throws to his left, and cutting across the field was Miles Sanders, and he had 2 or 3 steps away from the defensive back. However, Sanders not able to run down the football. Incomplete pass, the 4th in a row for McClellan. Gives the Wolverines a 2nd and 10 at the 27. So the Wolverines here have it 2nd and 10, as I say, at the 27-yard line. Clock stopped with 1:53 to play in the 2nd quarter. Wolverines looking to build on a 7-0 lead. One sidecar to the right of Cody McClellan. He'll roll to his right. He has Sanders open again, but he also has Ryan Welsh open, and Welsh leaps up, and as he looks to pull down the pass, an Indian comes in there and punches it away, and it's Sean Featherstone, the safety playing center field, came in there late, and McClellan floated the ball. That allowed Featherstone time to get to that football and punch it away. And the Wolverines have it 3rd down and 10 now at the 27-yard line. And we have seen Featherstone back there as the free safety, and he has come up big on over-the-top coverage for the Penn Hills Indians. Shotgun again, trips to the right of McClellan. He'll throw a little slip screen to Miles Sanders, who tries to leap over an Indian, but a nice open field tackle there by the Indians to Sean Campbell. And it's a loss of about 2 yards to the 29 on that passing play. And Miles Sanders, 2 catches today, just 1 yard after the first catch, covered 3 yards. The second one, a loss of 2. So the Wolverines are going to attempt what appears to be a 46-yard field goal from the right hash. Jordan Potter, who we talked about in the pregame show with Coach Novak, has a very, very strong leg. The hold will be Tom Green. The snap true, the hold down. The kick by Potter is up, and that kick is good, and that may have been good from 50. What a boom by Jordan Potter, and Woodland Hills extends their lead to 10-0 with 53 seconds to play in the 2nd quarter. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. A 46-yard field goal by Jordan Potter makes it 10-0 Woodland Hills. And hopefully there'll be somebody at halftime I can check with. But to my recollection, that may be a Woodland Hills record. I'm pretty sure that the 47-yard attempt by Sam Schifo that was good and then called back due to a formational penalty a year ago or maybe 2 years ago was the program record, but it didn't count. And this 46-yarder by Potter may be the longest field goal in Woodland Hills history. We'll have to check later on. And this time it's Jordan Potter with a low squibbing kick that takes a very positive bounce for the Wolverines up and over the head of an Indian return man and into the end zone for a touchback. And the booming leg of Jordan Potter, who was added to the roster mid-season, has not only given Woodland Hills a 10-point lead, and has also forced Penn Hills to start with the ball at their own 20. Shotgun formation, all by himself back there. Darius Holloway trips left, one to the near side right, and the pass is complete. No, it's dropped. Denzel Sherrill got hit as soon as the ball got there. The Indians had a banana bunch to the left, including an offensive lineman lined up way out there, Dom Pizzuto. Pizzuto, who is an offensive lineman, was lined up way outside. And he was the last man on the line of scrimmage. Or no, check that, not 53, 54. Yeah, it was 54 Pizzuto. So the incomplete pass brings up second down. The intent on the pass, intended for Denzel Sherrill. Holloway, the ball carrier, looks to step up into the pocket, and somehow the fire-plugged sophomore, Kevin Solomon, again makes an open field tackle. No gain, third down, and 10 for Penn Hills. Holloway 3 yards on the ground thus far today. And on that replay, you can see Solomon shed the tackler and make the open field, or shed the blocker rather, and make that open field tackle. Twins to either side. Holloway in the shotgun. He will hand off to Denzel Sherrill. And Sherrill is brought down after a modest gain to the 23-yard line. Jawan Turner, the senior D lineman, makes the tackle. That brings up fourth down and 7, and that should be the final play of the second quarter, and it is. Your halftime score. Woodland Hills 10, Penn Hills 0. And the Woodland Hills Wolverines, certainly not their strongest offensive performance thus far through the first 8 weeks of the season, but they do go into the locker room with a 10-0 lead as they took advantage not only of a Chris David interception that turned into a very long field goal by Jordan Potter. They were also able to get a touchdown in the first half by Daquan White. You combine that with a very strong defensive performance, and the Woodland Hills Wolverines head into the locker room with this 10-0 lead, and they are halfway to clinching a home playoff game in the WPIAL playoffs next week. Folks, on the television side, we will return with the second half. On the radio side, we'll be back with the Woodland Hills Football Network halftime show. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. Set to begin the second half all across the Woodland Hills Football Network. Woodland Hills leads the Penn Hills Indians 10-0 in this WPIAL Quad A Southeastern Conference matchup. Woodland Hills looks to clinch a home playoff game in the WPIAL playoffs next Friday. Meanwhile, the Penn Hills Indians look to back their way into the WPIAL playoffs with a victory over Woodland Hills and a little bit of help from some other teams around the WPIAL. Woodland Hills halfway to their goal of hosting a playoff game as one of the top 8 teams in Quad A with a victory tonight. They do have this 10-0 lead. A Daquan White 8-yard touchdown combined with a 46-yard Jordan Potter field goal has given Woodland Hills this 10-0 advantage. And that 46-yard field goal, from what we've been able to research thus far, is a Woodland Hills record. Again, Woodland Hills will be receiving to begin the second half. Back deep to return for the Wolverines, Miles Sanders, as well as Trevon Mathis. Kicking off for the Penn Hills Indians is Peter Gula. "24 minutes of football left for Woodland Hills to clinch a home game in the WPIAL playoffs. A low squibbing kick by Gula slides through the legs of TJ Siopa, but Siopa is able to sit up on his backside and gather the football in, and that gives Woodland Hills the football at the 35-yard line, and excuse me, not TJ Siopa, Anthony Siopa on the recovery for Woodland Hills on that kickoff. Again, Woodland Hills has the ball. First down and 10 at the 35. Woodland Hills out of the huddle. Shotgun formation. Twins to the right, one receiver to the near side left in Tom Green. Sidecars to either side of McClellan. Handoff goes to Miles Sanders. Sanders, the ball carrier, met in the backfield by number 58, Julian Hurt. Couple-yard loss on the play as the Penn Hills band continues to play. So at any time, the official can throw a flag and give a warning to the Penn Hills band if he is so inclined, but has not yet. If Penn Hills band would then ignore that warning, that would be a 15-yard penalty. Miles Sanders, that carry of -3 takes him down to 73 yards on the ground. McClellan in the shotgun, two receivers to his right. Begs the handoff, now hands off instead to Miles Sanders. He's across the 40, 45-50, 45-40, 35-30, and spun out of bounds inside of the 30 at the 27-yard line. A huge pickup there for the Wolverines. That ball carried all the way from the Wolverines' 32-yard line, and Miles Sanders takes it all the way inside of the Penn Hills 30 to the 27-yard line. A carry, 1 yards, or 41 yards rather, for Miles Sanders. Handoff goes to Alex Beasley this time, and Beasley is brought down at the 20-yard line as he picks up about 7 yards on that carry. Beasley, just his 4th carry of the game. He now has 13 yards. So Alex Beasley now with 13 yards, as I say, but getting back to Miles Sanders, his 41-yard carry from the 32 to the 28 gives him 124 yards on the ground. Play action off of a pair of handoffs, and it is McClellan finding Alex Beasley open in the flat, and Beasley runs through a Penn Hills tackler inside of the 10, and Alex is finally brought down at the 6-yard line. But for the second time this season, we see a defensive back pay the price for getting in the way of Alex Beasley. This time it's Sage Hicks slow to get up after he tried to bring down Beasley at around the 10, and Beasley finally came down at around the 6. 14-yard completion to Alex Beasley on that previous play. And flags come from the far sideline, as there may have been some movement before the snap. We'll check in with our referee.
Head ball, offside, defense. Half the distance to goal, still first down.
So that half the distance penalty moves the ball to about the 3-yard line. Cody McClellan right now at 92 yards passing, after that 14-yard completion a moment ago to Alex Beasley. First and goal at the 3 for the black and turquoise. Motion man from left to right is Tom Green. Handoff goes to Miles Sanders. Cuts it back inside. Gathers his balance and into the end zone for a 3-yard Woodland Hills touchdown. It looked like Miles Sanders was going to be tripped up at the goal line, but instead he kept his balance, kept his feet underneath him, and into the end zone he goes for his first touchdown, stretching the Woodland Hills lead to 16-0. And Miles Sanders now with 127 yards and a TD to his credit this afternoon, or this evening rather. Cassidy on to attempt the PAT for Woodland Hills. Snap is high, but Cassidy boots into it, and it favors the right side, but it is good. And with 9:39 to play in the third quarter, the score, Woodland Hills 17 and Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. A 3-yard touchdown run by Miles Sanders puts Woodland Hills up on top, 16-0. The PAT from Donald Cassidy makes it 17-zip. Woodland Hills with the lead. And a nice drive set up by the Woodland Hills offensive attack. Started at their own 35-yard line, did Woodland Hills, and Miles Sanders did the majority of the work on that one, combined with Alex Beasley. A booming kick by Jordan Potter will be returned from the 1-yard line for Penn Hills' Jason Ingram, and Ingram is brought down along the near boundary by a few Wolverines. In on the tackle, Dante Broadus. Also in there appears to be number 42, Mike Nash, the sophomore defensive back. So it'll be 1st and 10 for Penn Hills at the 19-yard line. Clock reads 9:34 to play in the third quarter. Penn Hills with their first possession of the second half. Shotgun formation for the Indians. Darius Holloway with a setback to his right-hand side, and that setback is Denzel Sherrill, and Sherrill is brought down as he pushes his way across the 20 to the 23-yard line. Second wave of Woodland Hills tacklers makes the tackle, including Malik Partlow and Dante Broadus. So 2nd and 6 for the Indians after Sherrill picks up 4. He now has 3 carries for 8 yards today. Motion man from right to left for Penn Hills. Back to pass. Sherrill looks to his left, finds a receiver in a banana bunch formation. The slip screen is complete to Jordan Davenport. Davenport, number 19 for Penn Hills, finally brought down as he crosses the 30 to the 34-yard line. Pickup of 11 on that pass play. And it's 1st and 10 for Penn Hills at their own 34-yard line. Holloway, pistol formation, twins to either side. He will hand off. The ball carrier, Sherrill, met at the line of scrimmage and driven back. Jawan Turner in on the tackle, as well as Dante Broadus and Alex Beasley. Beasley is just so consistent offensively. He doesn't do anything flashy, or defensively rather. He doesn't do anything flashy. He just gets the job done. And he did it there, making it 2nd down and 10 for Woodland Hills. 2nd and 10 for the Penn Hills Indians, ball at their own 34-yard line. Trips to the right after the motion. The pass is complete. The receiver is Michael Anthony, and Anthony is brought down as he carries the ball across the 35 to the 36-yard line. Broadus and Brimage on the tackle. A gain of 3 makes it 2nd down, or rather 3rd down and 7 on the pass play for the Indians. First catch of the game today for Michael Anthony. 3rd and 7 for the Indians at their own 37. Shotgun again. 2 receivers left, 1 to the near side right. Holloway, little shovel pass is caught by Eric Godfrey. Godfrey is met right at the line of scrimmage, maybe picking up a yard before being driven back by the Wolverines. Alex Beasley on the tackle for Woodland Hills, and that pass brings up 4th down. And about 7 still. No gain on that play on the completed shovel pass to Eric Godfrey. And we'll see Holloway on to punt again. He's been inconsistent this evening booting the ball. He had a couple of buttes, but one that went off the side of his foot into the Penn Hills stands. And this one goes sky high. It's not terribly long, but we'll take a nice Indian bounce inside of the 25, still rolling inside of the 20, and we'll be finally down by the Indians. Jordan Davenport at the 18-yard line, where it's 1st down and 10 for the Woodland Hills Wolverines. 17-0, Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills with 6:07 to play in the third quarter. Adam Gusky on the call for you, all across the Woodland Hills Football Network. Hope you tune in next week as Woodland Hills will play in the first round of the WPIAL playoffs. We don't know where and when yet, but if Woodland Hills holds on and wins this football game, we do know it will be here at the Wolverina. Handoff will go to Daquan White. As McClellan feigned the handoff to Sanders. White, the ball carrier, and is brought down a yard deep in the backfield. A loss of 1 for White. And Daquan White now 4 carries for 17 yards and a touchdown. One of 2 rushing touchdowns on the day for the Black and Turquoise. The other one coming here in the second half by Miles Sanders. Clock rolling down towards 5:33 to play in the third frame. Shotgun for the Wolverines as usual. Sidecar to either side of the senior QB McClellan. 2 receivers to his right, 1 to the near numbers left. Cody will hand it off on an end around to Khalil Harper. He cuts inside of a nice block by Jawan Turner, and Harper is finally brought down along the near boundary. It's a first down for the Wolverines as Khalil Harper picks up 12. He needed 11, and credit a lot of that to Jawan Turner pulling from his right guard spot, kicking out the linebacker along the near side, and that allowed Harper to cut it back in and pick up the Woodland Hills first down. Officially Harper's second carry of the day. He did have a 0-yard fumble recovery in the first half. Harper also has an 8-yard catch. Rolling to his right is McClellan. He'll step up into the pocket, eludes pressure, comes to the near side, across the 30-35, and steps out of bounds to avoid the hit at around the 38-yard line. A pickup of 9 for Cody McClellan, and McClellan now with 12 yards on the ground in total. And for the past 3 weeks, we've seen Cody McClellan have at least one 29-yard carry. He did have a long run in the first half that was negated by a holding penalty against the Wolverines. But the Wolverines seem to have cleaned up their offensive blocking. The holding flags haven't come out recently, and they've been able to move the ball very efficiently. McClellan, hard count, some movement before the snap. The officials don't blow the whistle, though. Handoff Sanders. He leaps over an Indians tackler and is met in the air by another white jersey. A pickup of about 5 yards for Miles Sanders. It's a Woodland Hills first down. Miles Sanders now with 132 yards on the ground and a touchdown today. Clock rolls under 5 minutes to play in the third frame. First-year head coach John Peterman of the Penn Hills Indians along the near sideline, taking a look at his team who is trying to back their way into the playoffs. Far sideline, George Novak has watched his team already qualify for the Whitfield playoffs for the 24th time in 26 years. Alex Beasley, the ball carrier, on 1st and 10 from their own 43, and it's an 11-yard pickup just like that for Alex Beasley, the bruising fullback and linebacker for Woodland Hills. Alex Beasley now with 24 yards on the ground. He did have a fumble in the first half as the Indians tackled the football and ripped it away from him, but Woodland Hills was able to maintain possession on that drive. 4:12 to go in the third quarter. Woodland Hills driving inside of Penn Hills territory to the 46. Handoff Sanders has a hole over right tackle, and he is brought down as he carries the ball inside of the 45 to the 41 before he's brought down. Sanders slow to get up as he's helped to his feet by Jawan Turner, and as Sanders hobbles to the far sideline, we see Daquan White come onto the field for Woodland Hills. That carry for Sanders covering 5 yards gives Woodland Hills 2nd and 5 at the 41. Sanders now with 137 on the ground. Sidecars to either side of McClellan. Woodland Hills shifting the formation. Bringing 2 receivers to the left. McClellan, straight drop back, looks right, throws right, that pass complete to Ryan Welsh, and Welsh takes a hard hit from behind, but still able to hold on to the football for an 11-yard gain and a Woody High first down. And Cody McClellan, for the 9th time this season, is now over 100 yards in the air, now with 103 in the passing game. Cody McClellan has thrown for over 100 yards every game this season. 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills at the 30. Handoff goes to Beasley. Wolverines kind of faking the end around as Harper was motioning from right to left. Alex Beasley, though, was met in the backfield and brought down. Loss of about 2 on that play. Joining on the spot for the Indians, Tyler Windleton. Alex Beasley now with 22 yards on the ground. Clock rolls to 2.5 minutes to go in the third quarter. Two receivers to the left of Cody McClellan. Hard count by Cody. Looks right, looks back left, throws left. The pass intended for Tom Green, and Tom Green turned into a defensive back there as the pass intended for Green was nearly picked off by DeMond Reed, but Tom Green ripped it away, and that brings up 3rd down and 12 for the Woodland Hills Wolverines. Ball at the 32-yard line. Again, folks, don't forget Woodland Hills will play in the WPIAL playoffs next Friday night. Kickoff most likely will be 7:30 p.m., and we will have coverage on the Woodland Hills Football Network. A pump by McClellan. He'll roll to his right, has some room to run, but instead will throw. Fading back, Ryan Welsh, but he can't get underneath the football. There's some incidental contact there between Welsh and the defensive back, Sage Hicks for Penn Hills, and that incomplete pass brings up 4th down and 12, ball at the 32-yard line. We've already seen Jordan Potter bang a 46-yarder. Will Woodland Hills go for it here? Because this would be a 49-yard field goal, most likely. But instead, it will be Woodland Hills going for it on 4th and 12 at the Indians' 32. Two receivers to the left of McClellan, one to the far side right. Cody, straight drop back, looks right the whole way. Tom Green covered, instead he'll throw it across the middle. The intended receiver is Khalil Harper. The pass high, and Harper can't hang on to it. Robin Hall on the coverage for Penn Hills. Turnover on downs for the black and turquoise. Second time today we've seen Woodland Hills not able to score and ultimately turn the ball back over to the Indians instead of punting it away. So 2:05 to go in the third quarter. Woodland Hills leading Penn Hills 17-0. Penn Hills has the ball at the 32-yard line. Fans, we invite you to log on to woodlandhillsfootballnetwork.com for all kinds of information about the Woodland Hills Football Network and Woodland Hills football as well. You also can like us on Facebook by logging on to facebook.com, typing in Woodland Hills Football Network in the search bar. And when you get to the Woodland Hills Football Network page, just click like. Pass for Holloway incomplete on 1st and 10 for Penn Hills. 2nd and 10 now for the Indians from their own 32-yard line. Indians offense not very efficient thus far. 11 yards on the ground, 51 yards in the air. Penn Hills with just 62 yards of total offense as compared to the Wolverines, who are approaching 300 yards. Now in at quarterback, Billy Kistner for Penn Hills. He'll feign the handoff, spin his way forward across the 35 to the 37-yard line. Carry of about 5. There's Kistner right now playing quarterback for Penn Hills. Kind of a wildcat formation for Penn Hills. Kistner, his first carry of the game, he does have 3 catches for 33 yards. Clock rolling to 1:30 to play in the third quarter. Penn Hills with the ball. 3rd down and 5 at the 37. Hard count, Kistner, straight drop back. Looks back to his left. The pass is in and out of the hands of the intended receiver. A decent pass by Kistner, and the intended receiver is Jordan Davenport. He had his hands on it and had got away from Chris David just enough to try to catch that football, but the incomplete pass by Kistner brings up 4th down and 5 for Penn Hills. Kistner, the QB for Penn Hills, 2 incompletions on that drive, but did have a 5-yard carry. Back on is Holloway for Penn Hills to boot it. He'll run to his right. He's going to take off running. Steps forward. The Wolverines saw it coming from a mile away. Woodland Hills practiced it and practiced it and practiced it all week long. When we sat down with head coach George Novak, he basically said Woodland Hills was not going to bring the punt return unit on at all. They were just going to keep the defense on the field to keep the Indians honest. And right there, the Wolverines did it. And as Holloway ran to his right, he thought about punting, tucked it, And stepping forward and making the play was both Jawan Turner as well as Daniel Gibson. So the senior and the sophomore combined to force the turnover on downs. Incidentally, that was a loss of 1 on that play for Penn Hills. Handoff goes to Daquan White, bouncing to his right, finds a crease inside of the 25 to the 24-yard line. A pickup of 12 yards for Daquan White. White, who carries the ball right now because Miles Sanders was hobbled a bit in the middle stages of the third quarter, has not returned to the lineup as of yet. But on senior night and holding a 17-point lead, it's good to get Daquan White some more carries. Hand off to Alex Beasley. He rumbles his way inside of the 20, inside of the 15. And all kind of white jerseys finally push him back, but very close to first down yardage. It appears to be a gain of 9 for Alex Beasley. So clock winding down towards 15 seconds to play in the third quarter. Will Woodland Hills run another play here, or will they let the quarter expire? McClellan brings the team to the line in the shotgun. Hard count, Cody. Delayed handoff, Daquan White. Inside of the 10 and spun down at the 6-yard line. And a pickup of 10 yards, and that'll be the final play of the third quarter. So we've played 36 minutes of football, 12 more to come. The score right now, Woodland Hills 17, Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. And we welcome you back to the Wolverine, where Woodland Hills has it first and goal at the Penn Hills 6-yard line, a 17-0 lead for the Woodland Hills Wolverines. And a score here would pretty much wrap it up and give Woodland Hills a likely victory over their rivals, the Penn Hills Indians, now in the Southeastern Conference, used to be part of the Big East. Last play from scrimmage for Woodland Hills, a 12-yard carry for, or rather a 10-yard carry for Daquan White. And this time Woodland Hills looks to stretch it to the left. Alex Beasley, the ball carrier, no gain on the play. And Alex Beasley now with 31 yards on the ground with around 10 carries. Clock continues to wind here in the fourth quarter. Woodland Hills up 17-0. Wolverines threatening. Motion man from left to right is Green. Handoff goes to Beasley. Has a hole inside of the 5. Spun down as he crosses the goal line for a Woodland Hills touchdown. And with 11:20 to play, Woodland Hills has stretched their lead to 23-10 over the Penn Hills Indians. And the third rushing touchdown of the game for a third different running back. The first one by the senior Daquan White. The freshman, Miles Sanders, had the second. The third by the senior fullback, Alex Beasley, a 6-yarder. Snap low, but Tom Green gets the hold down, and Donald Cassidy hesitates and then boots it through to give Woodland Hills a 24-0 lead with 11:20 to play in the fourth quarter. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. And welcome you back to the Wolverine, where Woodland Hills leads Penn Hills 24-0 with 11:20 to play in the fourth quarter. The most recent touchdown, a 6-yard carry by Alex Beasley. A simple counter play to the left. Beasley followed his blockers, the pulling guard and tackle. Turner and Gibson led the way. And Beasley was finally met by an Indian right around the goal line, but was able to spin his way into the end zone for the Woodland Hills touchdown. The PAT by Cassidy up and in makes it 24-0. And now Jordan Potter, the senior kicker, on to boot it away. Potter booms this one. It'll go high and a little short by his standards. On the return from Penn Hills is Jason Ingram. And Ingram doesn't have much room as he caught the ball at around the 7-yard line and was met and tackled at the 15. First down and 10 for Penn Hills, 85 yards away from their first score. 11:16 to play in regulation. Woodland Hills with its 24-0 lead. The Indians not able to get a lot going offensively thus far. Try to get at least a little bit here with this offensive opportunity with 11:16 to go. Pistol formation. Again, into quarterback for Penn Hills is Billy Kistner for the second time today. Kistner pulls the ball out of the belly of the ball carrier Eric Godfrey and keeps it himself. And Kistner will pick up about a yard to the 16. Now the officials say he did not gain any yardage. Maybe just goes from one side of the 15 to the other. And it's still second down and 10 for the Indians. Kistner's second carry of the game. First carry on the tackle on the previous play for Woodland Hills. Kistner in the shotgun, two receivers to his left. One to the far side right, sidecar to his right as well. Hard count by Kistner, bobbles the snap, looks to his left, throws to his left. The pass is complete to Godfrey, and Godfrey is brought down a yard deep in the backfield. Wolverines read it very well. The defensive back, Khalil Harper, makes the play for a 1-yard loss. So thus far today, Eric Godfrey has 2 catches for -1 yard. Indians out of the huddle. Clock rolling down towards 10 minutes to play. Kistner, shotgun, sidecar to his left, twins to either side. Hard count, Kistner drops back, feels some pressure by Rooney. Now he'll run to his right as Broadus puts some pressure on him. Kistner throws and the pass is incomplete. Tom Green dove and nearly was able to pick it off as the pass was intended for Michael Anthony, but that incomplete pass brings up 4th down and 11. Just wave and wave of pressure for Woodland Hills there. As we first saw James Rooney put pressure on Kistner, then it was Broadus, and then it was Jawan Turner. None of them able to make the play, but they did force the incompleted pass by Kistner. And punting for the Indians this time is Marshall Thompson, the sophomore reserve punter. Darius Holloway's evening may be over. A sky-high punt by Thompson. Takes a Penn Hills bounce at the 39 and will roll towards the midfield stripe before bouncing back towards the Indian player who then downs it. And that is Eric Godfrey who downs the punt, but it will be 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills inside of Penn Hills territory at the 47-yard line. There's a flag way back at the 11-yard line.
Formation on the offense. Not enough men on the line of scrimmage. That penalty is declined. First down.
The Woodland Hills will decline the penalty and take great field position at the 47. Good decision by the 26-year head coach of the Woodland Hills Wolverines, George Novak. Some reserves entering the field for Woodland Hills as we see Jawan Turner head to the sideline. And we've seen the last of Cody McClellan as well, as Jeremiah Jones will now pilot the offense for Woodland Hills. 9:34 to play here in the 4th quarter. Handoff will go to Daquan White, pushing his way through waves of white jerseys. And a flag came in late, and it may be a face mask against Penn Hills. We also have an injured Indian on the field. Had a little breeze in here. Boy, the weather has changed significantly as was predicted. It has gotten significantly cooler here at the Wolverine. Let's check in with the official to see what this flag is about. Apparently it is against the Indians as they check with the Woodland Hills huddle.
With face mask, defense. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
So an incidental face mask against the Penn Hills Indians. We'll move the ball 5 yards. Daquan White, that carry covering 0 yards, incidentally. Clock stopped right now as there was an injured Indian able to get up onto his feet and come to the near sideline. Sean Roy apparently had a calf cramp. Jeremiah Jones, low shotgun snap. He will hand it off. The ball carrier, Jacob Coles. Coles, who was not in uniform a week ago, picks up 5 yards on that carry, at least close to 5 yards, maybe a hair shy of the first down, and it will be second in a very short run. But a nice run by Coles before being driven back by a host of white jerseys, including a couple of linebackers and Eric Godfrey and Marshall Thompson. 4-yard gain for Jacob Coles. Reserve senior running back, 5 feet 8 inches tall, 164 pounds. You take a look at Jacob Coles and the way he runs the football. If he didn't play for Woodland Hills, say he played for Plum, he'd be a starter in a minute. Ball carrier this time is Jordan Lee. He'll bounce to the left side, has the first down and more as he carries the ball inside of the 35 to the 34-yard line. A pickup of 4 yards on that play for Jordan Lee. And it's 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills. The officials trying to run the clock down as quickly as they can with this 24-point Woodland Hills advantage. First and 10 for the black and turquoise. Ball at the Indians 34. Backs to either side of Jeremiah Jones. Handoff goes to Coles. He hesitates and then is run down by Penn Hills Indians in the backfield. Right at the tackle to Marshall Thompson, amongst others. A loss of 6 on the play. And Coles now minus 2 yards on 2 carries today. A lot of reserve offensive linemen are out there, and a reserve fullback as well. And that prevented Coles from finding a crease. As we look out there, I only see 2 starting offensive linemen. Daniel Gibson and James Rooney. Rooney, Jr., remains in there as the starting center. Jeremiah Jones, the ball carrier, calls his own number. Picks up about a yard inside of the 40 to the 39 before he's driven back. And that 1-yard gain brings up 3rd down and 15 for the Wolverines at that 39-yard line. I misspoke a moment ago. Wilford Clark, the right guard, the freshman, does start. He is still in there. The senior offensive linemen have basically given it their swan song as starters, at least. Jeremiah Jones in the shotgun. Stands at his own 45. And the freshman Daniel Gibson moves early.
Dead ball. False start. Offense. 5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
The loss of 5 on that penalty makes it 3rd and 20 for the Wolverines at the 44. Clock rolls under 6.5 minutes to go. As another sub comes in, Jake Cassidy, the 6-foot utility offensive lineman. He's a sophomore, 281 pounds. Has seen action this season at guard, tackle, and at center. But right now he is in at right tackle as Daniel Gibson, one of the starters, heads to the sidelines. A delayed handoff, no, play action. Jeremiah Jones rolls to his left, throws, and the pass is complete to Khalil Harper. Harper lost the football, but not before he was brought down. So it will be a completed pass covering 10 yards to the 34-yard line. Harper, his 2nd catch of the game. Khalil now with 2 catches for 18 yards. That's the first completed pass of the game for the freshman Jeremiah Jones. So it's 4th down and 10 for Woodland Hills. Ball at the Penn Hills 34. Jones rolls to his right. Looks to throw. Now he will throw. He finds Khalil Harper. 1st down and more inside of the 15 and brought down at around the 13-yard line. Jeremiah Jones, the freshman, finds the senior, Khalil Harper, for a nice pickup of 20 yards. Make it 21 yards and a Woodland Hills 1st down. And Khalil Harper now with 39 yards receiving after that 21-yard catch. 5 minutes to play. Woodland Hills up by 24. Hard count. Handoff will go to Jordan Lee. Lee bounces it to the outside, inside of the 10, where he's finally brought down at the 8-yard line. A pickup of 5 for Jordan Lee. Lee, number 41. With that 5-yard gain. Moments ago I misspoke, incidentally. Nigel Henderson did have a carry for 4 yards on this drive. That is the sophomore. Jordan Lee also a sophomore. Now we'll see Woodland Hills bring on the field goal unit. Jordan Potter going to attempt a 25-yard field goal from the left hash, and this field goal is good. A beauty, rainbow of a kick inside of the left upright, and with 4:05 to play, Woodland Hills has stretched the lead to 27-0 over the Penn Hills Indians. There is a flag down, so let's check in with the official here. The penalty is a dead ball, unsportsmanlike conduct against Woodland Hills. It will be enforced on the kickoff. We will see that in just a moment. Again, the score, Woodland Hills 27, Penn Hills 0. You're tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network. 4:05 to play in regulation. Woodland Hills with a 27-0 lead. The most recent score, a 25-yard field goal by Jordan Potter. And Potter out of the hold of Tom Green. Due to the beautiful rainbow of the kick inside of the left upright to give Woodland Hills this 27-0 lead. After the play, there was an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against Woodland Hills, and Jordan Potter will be kicking off from his own 25-yard line, so this may give Penn Hills an opportunity to have some good field position. Jordan Potter booms into this one. An end-over-end kick will be returned from the 21-yard line. On the return for Penn Hills is Alex Gelsheiser. Or was that 28 on the return for Penn Hills? It was 28, I apologize, not 26. So it's Jamar Cottrell on the return for Penn Hills. A decent return of about 20 yards. Sets Penn Hills up at their own 40. And if I'm not mistaken, the best starting field position of the game for the Indians. Taking a look at my drive chart, that appears to be the case. Just under 4 minutes to play, Woodland Hills with this 27-point lead. Back to pass, Penn Hills, Billy Kistner. Kistner pressured, rolls to his right, throws, and the pass will go into the Woodland Hills bench along the far sideline. Nice coverage by Woodland Hills and good pressure by the Woodland Hills defensive attack. Forced that pass to go incomplete. Kistner in the air thus far, 1 of 5 for -1 yard passing. Just a lot of pressure put on Kistner coming from both defensive ends, and then some late pressure by Dante Broadus as well. Also in there in the backfield, Devin Nixon, the 6-foot defensive end. 2nd and 10 for Penn Hills. Clock stopped with 3:51 to play. 2 receivers to the left, 1 to the far side right. Kistner now motions his sidecar to his right. Hard count. Kistner bobbles the handoff, then will give it off to Denzel Sherrill, and Sherrill is brought down at the 45-yard line, a pickup of 5. Sherrill initially did not go down, tried to gather himself and gather his balance. But the officials do say that Sherrill is brought down. His forward progress stopped at that 45. Sherrill now with 13 yards on the ground, 3:15 to play. Sidecar to the left of Kistner is Sherrill. Sherrill will take the handoff, bounces it to the outside, and he has tripped up a yard shy. No, they'll give him the first down, but a flag came in, and it came from the far side. And when an official throws a flag in that manner, most likely it is holding. We will check in with our referee in a moment, but we see an Indian hobbled, at least for the moment, and that is Jason Ingram.
Holding on the offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul, still 3rd down.
So 10 yards from the spot of the foul. The officials say the spot of the foul was the 50-yard line. I think that foul occurred closer to the 47, but really at this point it doesn't matter with under 3 minutes to go and Woodland Hills holding this 27-point advantage. Back to pass. Kistner, no, he will hand off. Denzel Sherrill, the ball carrier again. Sherrill with a loss of about 1 on that play. And it's 4th and 11 for Penn Hills with 2:20 to go as the clock continues to roll in the 4th quarter. Indians trying to take as much clock off as they can. And punting for Penn Hills is Marshall Thompson. Back deep to return for the Wolverines, Khalil Harper. Thompson steps into this one, another sky-high punt. Bounces at the 33 and will be downed at that point by the Indians' Jason Ingram. You see him able to stay in the lineup after being hobbled a moment ago. 1st and 10 for Woodland Hills, ball at their own 34-yard line after the Indians punt. 1:50 to play. Woodland Hills will clinch a home game in the WPIAL playoffs with this victory over the Penn Hills Indians. Meanwhile, Penn Hills season will end tonight. Out of the huddle come the Wolverines. James Rooney, the lone starter out there on the offensive line. Khalil Harper still in there as one of the starters as far as the specialists, or skilled players go, rather. But Jeremiah Jones, the Woodland Hills QB, is scrambling his way forward for a gain of about 10. However, a flag came in. There may have been holding downfield against one of the Woodland Hills receivers, but still a nifty run by Jeremiah Jones, the Woodland Hills freshman QB. Also flags way back near the line of scrimmage, and see what this is.
During the run, 10-yard penalty, spot of the foul, still 1st down.
So it's illegal block in the back against Woodland Hills, not holding. And it's 10 yards from the spot of the foul, as you heard, backing Woodland Hills up to the 34-yard line, or rather the 19-yard line. No, 24-yard line, I'm sorry. Jacob Coles, the ball carrier for Woodland Hills. Coles with a gain of about 3, back in positive rushing yards. That pickup of 4 to the 28. Coles now with 2 yards on the ground. Jones in the shotgun sidecar to either side. He will hand off. The ball carrier, Jordan Lee, gets to the line of scrimmage before being driven back by Indians tacklers. Loss of about a half yard. As there is less than a minute to play, the clock continuing to roll here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Less than 30 seconds to go now as Woodland Hills has the ball, 3rd down and 17. And taking a knee is Jeremiah Jones. A loss of 1 on that kneel down. And Woodland Hills defeats the Penn Hills Indians. Rivalry week here at the Wolverina. And Woodland Hills comes through with a 27-0 win over the Penn Hills Indians, their closest rival in the Southeastern Conference. With this victory, Woodland Hills clinches a home playoff game in the WPIAL playoffs while the Penn Hills Indians season comes to an end. A very complete football game for Woodland Hills. It was a hard-fought victory, but the Wolverines stepped on the gas in the second half for this big, big win. Woodland Hills record now 7-2 overall and 6-2 in Southeastern Conference play, while the Penn Hills Indians fall to 3-6 overall and 3-5 in the SEC. Folks, on the radio side, we encourage you to stay tuned for the State Senator Jay Costa postgame show. On the TV side, we are going to wrap it up, but before we do so, we got to thank our television crew for an awesome broadcast tonight. Our executive producer, director, who also runs the replay and the graphics, pretty much does everything upstairs, Larry George III, our technical director and on-field camera operator today, also did a great job. Lee Schaefer II, our camera operators, Lee Schaefer III, Joe Slick, and again, Lee Schaefer II doing an awesome job running that field camera for us tonight. I am your broadcaster for tonight, Adam Gusky. Fred Guy not with us, but he will return for the first round of the WPIL playoffs next Friday night, and we will have the coverage for you all across the Woodland Hills Football Network. Again, your final, Woodland Hills defeats Penn Hills 27-0 to clinch a home game in the first round of the WPIL playoffs. So we will talk to you next week here in Turtle Creek, Pennsylvania. Kickoff will be at 7:30 against an opponent yet to be determined. One more time, your final score, Woodland Hills defeats Penn Hills 27-0. Folks, on the TV side, we'll talk to you again next week. On the radio side, right back with the State Senator Jay Costa postgame show. You've been tuned into the Wolverines and the Indians on the Woodland Hills Football Network.